Madison Square Garden hummed with electricity on the night of November 22nd, 1965. The iconic New York venue was filled to capacity, 18,000 spectators crammed into every available seat, their collective anticipation, creating a palpable energy that seemed to vibrate through the building's very foundation. In the dressing room, Muhammad Ali, who had shocked the world by defeating Sonny Liston to become heavyweight champion just 19 months earlier, rapped, his hands with the practiced precision of a man who had performed this ritual countless times before. Tonight's fight was personal. His opponent, former heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson, had been publicly criticizing Ali for months, refusing to call him by his chosen Muslim name, instead referring to him as Cassius Clay. Patterson, a devout Catholic, had framed their upcoming bout as a religious crusade, declaring to the press, "This fight is a crusade to reclaim the title from the black Muslims. As a Catholic, I am fighting Clay as a patriotic duty. I am going to return the heavyweight championship to America." If this story has already made you feel something, no matter how small, don't leave without giving back. Comment and tell me where you're watching this video from, and subscribe to the channel. These words had cut deep. Ali, who had converted to Islam and changed his name after winning the title, viewed Patterson's comments as not just disrespectful to him personally, but to his faith. In previous interviews, Ali had promised to punish Patterson for this disrespect, vowing to carry him through the fight rather than grant him the mercy of a quick knockout. "I'm going to torture him," Ali had told reporters with his characteristic bravado. "I'm going to give him the beating of his life." But as fight night approached, Ali's trainer Angelo Dundee had noticed something troubling during their final preparation sessions. The champion's usual sharpness and focus seemed diminished, replaced by an uncharacteristic hesitation when discussing fight strategy. Late one night, after everyone else had left the gym, Ali had confided in Dundee, "Angelo, Patterson's got a bad back. Everyone knows it. He can barely tie his shoes some mornings. It doesn't feel right to really hurt a man already." In pain, Dundee had reminded Ali that boxing was their livelihood, that Patterson had chosen to step into the ring despite his injury, that the former champion had been the one to make the fight personal with his inflammatory comments. Ali had nodded, seemingly reassured, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Now, as he made his way toward the ring, the crowd's roar washing over him, that doubt lingered in the recesses of his mind. As Ali climbed through the ropes, his eyes immediately found Patterson across the ring. The former champion looked smaller than Ali remembered, his normally muscular frame appearing somewhat diminished. When Patterson moved during introductions, Ali noticed the slight wince that crossed his face, a telltale sign of the back pain that had plagued him for years. For a brief moment their eyes met, and in Patterson's gaze, Ali saw not the hateful adversary he had built up in his mind, but simply another fighter, another man trying to provide for his family the only way he knew how. The referee called both men to the center of the ring for final instructions. As they touched gloves, Ali whispered something that only Patterson could hear, words that would later become part of boxing lore. "Whatever happens tonight, Floyd, you're still a champion in my book." The opening bell rang, and both fighters moved to the center of the ring. Patterson immediately adopted his famous peekaboo style, gloves held high to protect his face, knees bent in a crouch that put additional strain on his already compromised back. Ali, meanwhile, began circling, his footwork as graceful as a dancer's, his left jab flicking out like a serpent's tongue, testing, measuring, establishing range. In the first round, Ali's superior speed was immediately evident. His jabs landed almost at will, snapping Patterson's head back repeatedly. But when openings appeared for the devastating right hand that had felled Liston, Ali hesitated. He threw the punch without full commitment, pulling back just enough to reduce its impact. From ringside, Howard Cosell, broadcasting the fight for ABC, noted the phenomenon with his characteristic precision. Ali appears to be holding back. He's landing clean shots, but seems reluctant to follow up with his full arsenal. By the third round, a pattern had emerged. Ali would land a flurry of punishing jabs, creating perfect opportunities for knockout blows, only to dance away or clinch when Patterson was vulnerable. In one particularly telling exchange, Ali caught Patterson with a perfect combination that left the former champion wobbling, defenseless against the ropes. The crowd rose to its feet, anticipating the finishing sequence, but instead of moving in for the knockout, Ali stepped back, allowing Patterson to recover his senses and return to the center of the ring. From his broadcast position, Cosell was perplexed. "I don't understand what we're witnessing here, ladies and gentlemen. Ali has Patterson hurt, badly hurt, yet he's backing off. This is not the ruthless finisher we've come to know." In Patterson's corner between rounds, his trainer was becoming increasingly frustrated. "He's toying with you, Floyd," he said, applying ice to Patterson's swelling face. "He's trying to humiliate you by dragging this out. You need to catch him with something big, or this is going to be a long, painful night." Patterson nodded grimly. "He could have finished me in that last round," he admitted. "I was out on my feet. I don't know why he backed off." As the middle rounds progressed, the dynamic became increasingly clear to the astute observers at ringside. Ali was systematically dismantling Patterson with his jab, controlling every aspect of the fight, but deliberately avoiding the knockout blows that would end the contest. He was carrying Patterson, just as he had promised in pre-fight interviews, but not for the reason he had claimed. This wasn't a torture session designed to maximize Patterson's suffering. It was a master boxer carefully calibrating his attack to punish, but not seriously injure his opponent. In the sixth round, something extraordinary happened. Ali had Patterson cornered again, landing a series of unanswered punches that had the referee moving closer, ready to stop the fight. The crowd was on its feet, sensing the end was near. Then, with the television cameras capturing every detail, Ali lowered his hand slightly and said something to Patterson. The arena was too loud for microphones to pick up his words, but Patterson's reaction was clear, a slight nod, followed by Ali deliberately clinching, giving his opponent another chance to recover. As the fight moved into the later rounds, Patterson's face was swollen almost beyond recognition. His movements had slowed considerably, the pain in his back clearly affecting his already limited mobility. Between the 11th and 12th rounds, the ringside doctor climbed onto the apron to examine Patterson, considering stopping the fight. After a brief assessment, he allowed the contest to continue, but the concern on his face was evident to everyone watching. In Patterson's corner, his trainer made one last plea. "Floyd, I'm going to throw in the towel. There's no shame in it. You're hurt, and he's too much for you tonight." Patterson's response was immediate and firm. "No, I'm finishing this on my feet. I owe myself that much." When the bell rang for the 12th round, Ali approached the center of the ring with uncharacteristic solemnity. Gone was the dancing, the showboating, the perpetual motion that had defined his boxing style. Instead, he stood flat-footed, his hands slightly lower than usual. As Patterson approached, moving gingerly, Ali did something that left the commentators momentarily speechless and the crowd in confused silence. He deliberately lowered his guard completely, leaving himself open. The message was clear to everyone watching. Take your best shot. Salvage your pride. Patterson, despite his pain and exhaustion, recognized the gesture for what it was, not mockery, but respect from one champion to another. He threw a combination, landing solidly on Ali's chin. For perhaps the first time in the fight, Ali nodded slightly, acknowledging the punches, before resuming his more defensive posture. For the remainder of the round, Ali continued to box, but the nature of his punches had changed. He threw enough to clearly win the round, but each blow seemed carefully measured to score points without causing additional damage. The television cameras, which had been broadcasting the fight to millions around the world, captured this subtle transformation in excruciating detail. The most gifted heavyweight of his generation deliberately pulling his punches out of compassion. For a wounded opponent, when the final bell rang, Ali was declared the winner by unanimous decision. The scorecards weren't close. Ali had won every round on all three judges' cards, but the story of the fight wasn't told in the scorecards. It was told in the moment's restraint, in the calculated mercy shown by a young champion who had been expected to deliver a brutal beating. As the fighters embraced after the decision was announced, Ali whispered in Patterson's ear. Years later, Patterson would reveal those words. "You're a warrior, Floyd. I respect you too much to take your dignity. That's something a man should keep." The post-fight press conference was uncharacteristically subdued. Ali, normally boastful and poetic after victories, was quiet and reflective. When a reporter directly asked why he hadn't knocked out Patterson when he clearly had multiple opportunities to do so, Ali's response revealed a depth of character that many had overlooked beneath his brash exterior. "A true champion knows when to show his power and when to show his mercy," Ali said, his voice lacking its usual theatrical quality. "I proved I was the better boxer tonight. I didn't need to prove I could hurt a man who was already hurting." The Sports pages the next day were filled with accounts of Ali's restraint. The New York Times ran the headline, "Ali dominates Patterson, shows unexpected mercy in the ring." Inside the paper, the legendary sports columnist Red Smith, who had been critical of Ali in the past, wrote, "Last night, Muhammad Ali showed us something more valuable than his jab, his footwork, or his power. He showed us his humanity." Not everyone viewed Ali's performance positively. Some boxing purists criticized him for not finishing the fight when he had the chance, arguing that his job as a boxer was to win as efficiently as possible. Others suggested that carrying Patterson through 12 rounds was actually more cruel than ending the fight quickly would have been. But for many who witnessed the fight, including numerous boxing insiders, the night represented a turning point in their perception of the young champion. Patterson himself addressed the matter in his own post-fight comments. "Ali could have knocked me out any time after the 4th round," he admitted. "I know what a knockout feels like, and I was ready to go several times. He chose not to finish me. That's not something I'll forget." In the locker room after the press conference, away from the cameras and reporters, Ali sat alone with Angelo Dundee. The trainer, who had been with Ali since his professional debut, knew his fighter better than anyone. "You did good tonight, champ," Dundee said. "Different than we planned, but good." Ali looked up, his face serious. "I couldn't do it, Angelo. When I saw him wincing every time he moved, when I felt how weak his punches were, I just couldn't put him away. My mama raised me better than that." "You still won every round," Dundee reassured him. "No one can say you didn't dominate the fight." "It's not about winning," Ali replied, unwrapping his hands slowly. "It's about how you win, how you carry yourself. 20 years from now, no one will remember the scorecards, but they'll remember how I treated a hurting man in that ring." Ali's prediction proved prescient. While the Patterson fight is rarely mentioned among his most famous bouts, those who study boxing history point to it as a revealing moment in the champion's development. A night when the cameras captured a glimpse of the compassionate humanitarian, who would later emerge after his boxing career ended. In subsequent years, as Ali faced Joe Frazier, George Foreman, and other legendary opponents in more celebrated bouts, the lesson of the Patterson fight remained with him. The man who famously proclaimed, "I am the greatest," had shown that true greatness sometimes lies not in what you do, but in what you choose not to do, in the punches you pull rather than the ones you land. Years later, when Parkinson's disease had silenced his once poetic voice and limited his physical capabilities, Ali would be asked by a young boxer about his most important fight. The expectation was that he would name the Rumble in the Jungle or the Thriller in Manila. Instead, Ali wrote on a piece of paper, "The night I learned that mercy can be stronger than power." If you made it this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing, okay? I tell these stories with my heart in my hand to reach people like you, who feel, who get emotional, who live. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me. Until the next video.